real cold start to the day. As you can see how cold it's been just by looking at the how much dew is on the ground. I've been up and down this garden a couple of times already, but man, that really must have got very close to frost last night, I reckon. So I'm going to be weeding first job this morning. A nice little spot around this corner. This property here I just weed. I've weeded all along here, and yeah, I'm going to get started over this side. A few bits and pieces the customer wants me to get out. This place is massive. This place is good for all year round work. So there's a few bits in here that the customer wants me to get out. There's these things the customer wants me to get rid of. No idea what they're called. A bit like a foxglove, I suppose, but they are spreading all over this bed. They're going up all the bank there, and they're just getting a bit too much. So the customer's asked me to get rid of them. Started just pulling bits and pieces up, having a bit of a go through. So far so good. I've worked at this garden now for probably 3 years. It's been a very good one for me. It's a good one to come in all through the winter to do bits and pieces on. The guy I work for here is very good, very down to earth. He knows what he likes in the garden, knows what plants he doesn't like in the garden. So a few bits and pieces I have removed in the past. Wouldn't really class as a weed, just that it's one of those plants that just sort of seeds itself everywhere, and just if you don't keep on top of it, it will end up getting out of control. I always find when I get new customers that are on a weeding, want weeding doing, or want some of the garden cleared, I will make it a priority to wander around the garden with the customer, just to have a chat with them and make sure that I know which plants they like, which plants they don't like, which plants they might want me to thin out a little bit, and also which plants they just want me to get rid of altogether. So, every customer is different. Some people would like this plant here that I'm taking away, but this customer just wanted them gone. So my next job of the day was a little bit more strenuous than the weeding. It's this hedge. Now it doesn't look too much from the front, but from the side you can see it's quite wide. I will have to get from the top this side and from the top the other side. But first things first, the most important thing is coffee and biscuits. I use my board on the ladder for this job. It's not overly massive, it's not overly tall. It is actually taller from the other side. The garden does drop away a little bit. This is the second cut of the year, and probably the final cut of the year for this hedge. It is made up of lots of different bits and pieces. There's quite a lot of rubbish in this hedge. It's not the nicest hedge that I cut. I am planning on going through it at some point, and I have actually started already to take all the brambles out from the very bottom, and anything that's just not growing nicely as a hedge is getting removed, and hopefully over time it will improve. As you can see, I can just about reach over the full length of this hedge. There are a few bits and pieces that I can't quite reach, but I can normally get most of it from the one side. As you can see, absolutely beautiful day working in the autumn sunshine. On this day I realised my hedge cutter wasn't running right. It was spluttering around a little bit. You won't be able to hear it because I've taken the sound off of the video, just because the hedge cutter noise is really not nice to hear. But yeah, my hedge cutter just was not running correctly. So since doing this video I have taken it to my repair guy. He's sharpened it all up for me. He's had a good clear through on it. Hasn't replaced the carb. That is something that might have to be done in the future, but he said it should be all okay now. And yeah, touch wood, it is, since getting it back from the repair guy, it's been absolutely perfect. And say he sharpened it up. I think he's actually even straightened it out a little bit. It did have a bit of a curve on it at the end, and yeah, he's now got rid of that. So yeah, it's running absolutely beautiful at the minute, and just goes to show that getting something like this sharpened on a reasonably regular basis just makes all the difference. It's something that I should do more often of, and I think next year I'll put it in the book to get it sharpened a little bit more than I have done in the past. It is one of my favourite jobs to do, given the hedges, their final cut of the year, their final little tidy up. Not a lot of rubbish coming off them, but it just makes that little bit, that difference. Just getting all the fuzz off of it just makes the difference, and it's always a nice one. It's not quite as hectic as that first cut when it's got a lot of growth coming off of it. And now on to the next job. It is mowing at the block of flats that I look after. Again, this has been a place that has suffered quite badly this year with the drought we went through, but that has worked in my favour because it has slowed the lawn a little bit, and it has given me more time to get on with hedges. I think I've mentioned in the previous video, all the hedges here I look after, and normally absolutely manic because the hedges and the lawns all need doing at the same time, but this year I got away with just doing hedge work rather than the lawns. Thankfully, this garden is one of the only gardens I do which doesn't really suffer with leaves too much. There aren't really any trees around here. There are maybe a couple next door, but this garden doesn't really get inundated with the leaves falling. That seems to be my one job I'm doing a lot of at the minute, is leaf clearance. It's always is this time of year. The mower that I'm using here in this video is getting... I'm using it quite a lot. I prefer to use this mower for leaf clearing, or to bag up the leaves, as it's got the dual blade underneath. It's got two blades underneath which help chop the leaves up nice and small. So yeah, this mower's really earning its money for me at the minute, but thankfully this job isn't one of those that get covered in leaves. Again, most of my jobs at the minute are clearing leaves, and most of them all seem to be pretty wet at the minute as well, which always makes the job 10 times harder. This property was probably the worst one hit with the drought throughout this year. So early spring, they, if you remember, they used to have two big trees here, probably very similar to size of those trees there, but there were two of them right here. And yeah, those trees are now gone. I'm not quite sure what happened to them. I was here one week and they were here. The next week I turned up and they were totally gone. Nothing was left of them. Because the trees were gone, this garden had no shade throughout the summer at all, and yeah, it just really suffered. It just got absolutely baked. It is slowly coming back now, but I think throughout the summertime, I think it was probably about 8 weeks that I didn't cut here, and this is normally a weekly place that I just mow every week. And yeah, it really suffered. So did things like cut the hedge over there, cut the front of this hedge. Now where they've brought this tree down, I'm not quite sure what happened, whether or not branches they were lopping off and falling into this area over here, but this little bit has just been smashed to bits. So not quite sure what's going to happen with that. As I say, the trees just disappeared. I did speak to the lady I work for here, and she was on holiday at the time, and when she came home, the trees were gone. and apparently they'd got a disease or something, but they always look pretty healthy to me. Not sure if the husband just wanted them gone. Doesn't bother me. I shan't miss clearing up the leaves in the autumn. So my last little job today, I have just mown all of this out here. All of this has just been mown and mowed over. My last job today, I'm just going to clear up some of these leaves. Not leaves, apples. They're really nice apples as well. But as you can see through there in my pile, I'm just chucking them all in the bushes, getting them out of the way. So that's that. I will tidy these leaves. Jesus Christ, it's been a long day. I will tidy these apples up and be on my way home. Gardens with apple trees this time of year can be a real pain in the backside. If you are coming to a lawn where you just cut it every week or every fortnight, get in and go, if that place has apple trees, then you are going to be spending a bit more time there this time of year. It's something you should probably look out for when you are taking the job on. Something I don't do, but if you are taking a job on, keep an eye out for fruit trees, because in this time of year you will be maybe spending an extra 20 minutes, half an hour even on the job. Now I know I'll get people saying, "Oh, I don't mind, I'll just run over the apples with the mower." That's something I hate doing. I really don't like doing. It makes a mess. Never actually picks the apple up. It always just chops it in half and leaves the other half on the ground to sort of rot away. But yeah, apple trees and the apples it drops, it's just something you just have to spend a bit more time. I've just found the easiest way to do it is every time you come into the garden, before you mow, just spend a bit of time, get all the apples up out of the way. Ideally, I would be taking all of these apples to a local cider company. If this was my garden, if I had the time, that is what I probably would do. I would sort through some of the apples and take all the good ones to the cider company. Unfortunately, I do not have the time. I have to be other jobs need doing. Unfortunately, all these apples get wasted. It is a shame, but at least some of the wildlife will be getting a feed. Thank you ever so much for watching, guys. Take care, be good. I will see you next time.